Hi, welcome back to Melody's Book Nook. Thank you for being here. Today I am doing the box office tops and flops tag. I learned about this tag from Book Chat with Pat when she did it, although it was originally created by Heather Reeds. However, although this tag was created on BookTube, this tag is really just about YouTube videos and how many views they have, so any kind of YouTuber could do this tag. I thought that this tag was really interesting because it involves a lot of numbers and statistics, and I find those pretty fascinating. So this tag is basically about looking at your own videos and seeing which ones have gotten the most views and which ones have gotten the least. But you don't just say those, you also give an explanation for why you think they are your most viewed and least viewed videos. So I thought that would be pretty fun. It can also be a chance to get people to maybe watch videos that didn't get a lot of views and you want them to. So it's a way for you to talk about them, especially if they're some of your older videos. I feel like most likely a lot of booktubers' oldest videos would be the ones that weren't viewed much, unless they did the booktube newbie tag. If you're a new booktuber and you haven't done the booktube newbie tag, I recommend it. Every time I see people do that, there are always like more comments than on other videos that they do, especially early on in their booktube journey. I think that's a great way to start. It doesn't gotta be your very first video, but I think it's great to do at the beginning. Or even if you've been doing booktube for a while, I think it's okay to do it if you haven't done the tag yet. So I'll read the specific prompt for this tag. It will also be in the description. Using YouTube Studio, look up your 5 videos that got the highest number of views and the 5 that got the lowest. Answer these questions about each video. Why do you think this video got as many or as few views as it did? And then for the 5 highest viewed videos only, do you think each video warrants as many views as it got? And then for the 5 lowest viewed videos only, can you think of a good reason why more people should watch these videos? So when it comes to my top 5 most viewed videos, I think I will start with the top viewed and then go down to the 5th most viewed. So my most viewed video at the time of recording this in August 2025 is my Sunrise on the Reaping predictions video. So this video I made before Sunrise on the Reaping came out, when there was some news and knowledge about it, and I was just giving my thoughts on it and my predictions on how I thought it would be received by fans, what it would contain, things like that. And that video currently has over 800 views, so thank you to anyone who has watched that. If you've discovered my channel through that video and you're still here, thank you for staying here. Even when I did not have great audio quality, I think it's gotten better now. So why do I think that video got as many views as it did? Well, I can say I'm not surprised at all that it is my most viewed video. I think that makes a lot of sense. For one, The Hunger Games is a very popular series. In fact, many of the really popular books, especially ones that are coming out today, I'm just not interested in, but I am interested in The Hunger Games. I genuinely like it. And I think it's exciting to hear about the Hunger Games in general, but especially to hear about a book before it's released, because the book isn't out yet, we don't have much to say about it yet, so we're talking about it with each other. And I think making predictions is fun because they're predictions, you don't know for sure if they're correct, so you like to have theories and see if they're going to be correct later on. I do see that video potentially getting less views, even though it has been getting more views, now that the book has been released. It can still, of course, be watched, especially if you're just really into the Hunger Games. I know that I got some comments on that video of people talking about their predictions and what they would like to see for the future of the Hunger Games. There's a lot to say because it's a series that's been around for a while. There are movie adaptations, there are books that people think could come out in the future. And I think that watching that video and talking about it just added to the excitement and anticipation of the upcoming release of the book. So yeah, I think that it makes perfect sense that that video got as many views as it did. As for if it warrants that many views, sure, why not? I think it makes sense. The Hunger Games is very popular. I made that video quite a while ago. I've gotten a lot of new subscribers since then, but that video has still gotten a lot of views even when I had less than 100. So for me, that's been pretty exciting. My second most viewed video is a little similar to that last one we just talked about, and that was when I was talking about the 20th Diary of a Wimpy Kid book's cover being announced. Maybe not just the cover, I think it might have been like the title and the plot and everything. That's pretty similar because that's, again, talking about a book that has not yet come out, but talking about what we know about it and giving my thoughts on it. Now, with Sunrise on the Reaping, that book had already been announced. When I made that video, that wasn't the first time people had heard about it. But with the 20th Diary of a Wimpy Kid book, I think that was pretty shortly after it was announced, and I just thought I could make a video talking about that. Again, it does not surprise me at all that that video got a lot of views because Diary of a Wimpy Kid is also very popular. And I think that it got as many views as it did for similar reasons, because it's fun to hear news about a new book, especially if it's a book in a series that you already really like, and it's fun to talk about your predictions on it and just discuss what there is about it and to see the new cover, to learn the title, to learn what the book is about. I think that's very exciting. I think that all my most viewed videos, I'd say, warrant the views they got. None of them have like a crazy amount of views, and if they did, I'm not going to complain about it. So yeah, I'm glad that video performed well. I think originally I wasn't even sure if I was going to make videos about like more children's books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Goosebumps, but I'm really glad that I did because those videos have been really well received, and of course they have, they're popular books. And I enjoy making videos and reviews of even those kinds of books, even if they're not like adult books, even if a lot of my viewers won't watch those. Clearly they have found their people. My third most viewed video, here is the first review, and that is my review of the book Secret Machines Chasing Shadows by Tom DeLonge and AJ Hartley. So why did my review of this book get as many views as it did? Oh, and I forgot to mention how many views the Diary of a Wimpy Kid video got. That one currently has over 200 views, and so does my video that is the review of this book. So thank you for watching those. I think that a lot of people that have watched my review of this book are not my usual viewers. Some of them are. I think a lot of them are people who are interested in the authors, particularly people who know Tom DeLonge from other things, and so then they see this review, they want to watch it. That makes sense to me. I'm guessing that that review is something that many people probably searched specifically for, or it got recommended to them. And this is definitely Tom DeLonge's most popular book, so it makes sense to me that even though I reviewed some of his other books, this is the one that has gotten the most views. In fact, I delayed making this video by just a little bit. I was going to make my last video after this one, but I decided to delay it just a little bit because I recently did my review of Poet Anderson of Nightmares, and that one currently has over 90 views, and so I thought maybe it would get into the top 5 by the time I made this video. It has not, but the views still seem to be growing steadily, so maybe it'll get up there, maybe even by the time this video is out or shortly after, or maybe not, but ultimately I won't be surprised if it reaches 100 views. And that makes sense because that's, I think, another one of his most popular books. But yeah, I also think that we should definitely talk about the thumbnails of these videos. I think that's a big factor in why certain videos get more views than others. I definitely have something to say about one of my least viewed videos and the thumbnail of that one, and it makes sense to me. For the thumbnail of this video, there are some emojis in it. I think emojis can be fun. Maybe they make it appealing to some people. I've realized I don't need to put emojis or text or something extra on every thumbnail. Some I do and some I do not. I like to experiment with different things instead of making all my thumbnails the same. I mean, I know it's good to have like a sort of brand, but I like to try different things and see what works. And sometimes I know when a thumbnail is particularly good, and I know when it is sometimes not. But that's okay. We are experimenting and learning. So yeah, basically I'm guessing that a lot of people who viewed this video are people who are interested in the book outside of my channel, but because I talked about it and they were interested in it, they ended up watching the video. So like I said, I'm guessing that a lot of people searched for videos about this book or got it recommended to them if they have watched other things related to the book or the authors. And I'm quite happy that this is one of my most viewed videos because Tom DeLonge and Blink-182 in general and all those things to do with that are one of my biggest interests. So I feel like this being one of my top videos, if you go to my channel and you're looking for a video to watch and you go to the most popular and seeing this up there, I feel like that represents me. I feel like I would say all the videos that are in my top 5 at the moment represent me pretty well. They're not necessarily all my favorite things or my favorite franchises ever, but I think that I'm pretty satisfied with the ones that are at the top. So yeah, I think it's really cool that some of my other special interests can coincide with my interest in books, and I really like that when I have talked about them on BookTube, those videos end up performing quite well, like with this one. My fourth most viewed video, and I believe this video currently has over 100 views, is my review of the book Wonka by Sybil Pounder. I don't remember how her name is pronounced. I remember looking it up before I did that review. Might not be Sybil. I just remember it wasn't the way I thought it would be pronounced based on the way it's spelled, so I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. That review talked about the novelization of the 2023 film Wonka. That movie was a movie, and then there was this book that is basically a novelization, but it does have some extra things in it, so that was nice. And I enjoyed reading it. I really liked the movie. I loved the movie, and this book reminded me why I loved it. Again, I'm quite happy that this is one of my most viewed videos because I really love the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory / Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory franchise. I love the whole franchise, the books, the movies. So I feel like this is, again, something that really represents me and what I like. As for why this video is one of my most viewed videos, I guess it's one of the slightly more surprising ones, but it kind of makes sense. The movie is still somewhat new. I mean, it's not that new anymore. It's close to 2 years old now. But I guess it makes sense. It is a shorter video. I think people are more likely to click on shorter videos. And I think that there are probably a lot of people who are interested in the book because they're probably at least familiar with the movie and maybe they want to hear about the book. I guess it's somewhat popular right now. It's not like a really old book. So yeah, I guess that makes sense, and I'm glad that many people have watched it and hopefully enjoyed it. My fifth most viewed video, and this is another one I'm quite happy about, is my review of This Song Is Not For You by Laura Nowlin, which if you watch my other videos or even just seen the thumbnail, which I think might be part of the reason why people are interested in it because it says my new favorite book, and so then people might be curious. This book has, this year when I read it, become my new favorite book. I go into depth why in that video. I think that this video got a lot of views because I think that this book has had quite a surge in popularity. It hasn't like absolutely blown up everywhere from my knowledge, but I know that the author has written I believe it's a duology. I haven't read it yet, but I really want to. That is much more popular. And I think it's like very popular on Book Talk, and if a book is popular on Book Talk, it's going to be popular in general, and that's great for its sales. And because this is another one of her books that she wrote, I think in between the duology, but it is a standalone that is unrelated to those two, I assume. I mean, maybe it has like characters from the duology, but I doubt it. But I know sometimes authors do that, like I've heard Sarah Dessom has done things like that. I think that because many people may have enjoyed or at least read her other books because they heard about them, because they're so popular, then they wanted to check out this book as well. Again, like I said, the fact that in my thumbnail it says my new favorite book, people might be curious, because if I'm saying that a book is my favorite book, then that means I really enjoyed it, and they're curious why I would say that. Especially because this book does not have very high ratings on Goodreads. I personally loved it. It's not for everyone, but I loved it, and I think that could have been why a lot of people clicked on it, because they might be like, how is this your favorite book? Because either they saw the low ratings but didn't read it, or maybe they read it and they're part of those low ratings, they didn't like it, so they're like, why would someone say that? Whatever the case, again, I'm quite happy that my review of my current favorite book is one of my most viewed videos because this book meant a lot to me, and I'm glad that people have heard my thoughts on it and that I have not received any hate. I also know that this book and Laura Nowlin's other books are currently in at least my Walmart, although I got this older edition, and I personally much prefer this edition than the current one. I'll put it on screen. It's okay looking. I don't know, I kind of like this one more. I know a lot of people don't like real people on covers. I don't really mind this though, but I just think it looks better. Like, I saw this in a thrift store last year and it caught my attention, so I got it. And I remember looking through the copy in Walmart, and I think like the chapter headers, because this book is told from 3 different points of view, I don't really remember what they looked like, but I just remember I didn't prefer the way that they looked. They looked maybe, like, I don't know, you see this has got like its own little design and font with it. I think they weren't like that or something. They just weren't as good looking to me. But I'm just glad that I got this version, and so I did not get this book because of any hype or because of any knowledge of the author. It actually does say on the bottom, author of If He Had Been With Me, but I hadn't heard about those books. I saw this one first, and then read it a few months later, and really enjoyed it. Personally, I'm excited to read more from this author. Maybe I really like her writing style. I guess it hasn't connected with everyone, but that's okay. I think that applies to every book. Perhaps this one has just received a bit more criticism than some others have, and again, it's not for everyone. Plus, it is young adult. If you are like 30 or even in your 20s, then yeah, it just may not appeal to you because you're not a teenager. If you feel that these characters are, not that I thought that they were this way, but if you read in a young adult book and you feel like the characters are immature or making dumb decisions, then yeah, they're teenagers, it makes sense. So I think people should keep that in mind. Of course, they can still have their honest opinions, and young adult books can still be mature, but if they are immature, then that makes sense. Not that this one necessarily was. I didn't feel that it was. I'm just saying when it comes to young adult books in general. But I often like books that aren't really for my age either. Like, I still read a lot of children's books, despite being an adult, because that's what I want to read sometimes, and I enjoy it, but I read all the way from children's books to middle grade to young adult to adult. I'm a little nervous to read If He Had Been With Me, though, because I've heard it's, like, very sad, and I also don't know entirely what happens in it, but I've kind of come across a spoiler just because of how popular it is. I can still absolutely enjoy a book even if I know what's going to happen. That does take away from my excitement to read it a little bit though, but that's okay. I will still enjoy it. Sometimes you can even appreciate it more if you know what's going to happen, because you can see how it's led up to that and foreshadowing, and you can see foreshadowing and all that. So I'll get to it, and I'm excited to. So yeah, I'm really happy that that is one of my most viewed videos. Now we're going to get into my least viewed videos, and we're going to talk about why I think they have as little views as they do, and if I think that more people should watch the videos, and if so, why. So for this one, I'm going to go in backwards order. I'm going to start from the 5th least viewed video, and then I'm going to go to the least viewed video. So the 5th is actually tied when I looked, had somewhere between 10 and 20 views. So we're just going to talk about both books, and both books are by the same author, and that is my review of On Lavender Tides by Travis M. Riddle and my review of Mother Pig by Travis M. Riddle. On Lavender Tides is the first book in the 6-book Jekyll series, which is a progression fantasy Pokemon-inspired series, and Mother Pig is the second book in the Houndstooth trilogy, which is a fantasy series. On Lavender Tides is more PG-13, more young adult, but honestly maybe even could be appropriate as middle grade as well, but I personally consider it young adult just because the main characters are 18, and Houndstooth is definitely more adult. Well, for starters, I'm not too surprised that these videos don't have as many views. I don't really care too much about how many views a video gets. It is still interesting to me, and I do still look, and my brain naturally makes those connections and comparisons. But I will say it makes sense because these books are not very well known. They are by a smaller self-published author, but in my opinion, he is a very good one. Also, Mother Pig is the second book in a trilogy, so most people haven't even read the first book to begin with. Why are they going to watch a review of the second book? It makes sense, but if you watched it anyway, like if you're one of those people who just watches my videos no matter what, thank you. It also makes sense with my review of Mother Pig because I made that review quite a while ago, like maybe even a year ago at this point, or close to it. With On Lavender Tides, I made that video not as long ago, like shortly before I got this new bookshelf, so not a long time ago, and it kind of does surprise me because I feel like the cover for this book is very pretty and very striking, at least I thought so. I think I even put in the thumbnail that it is Pokemon inspired, so even if people have never heard of the Jekyll series, they at least know Pokemon, even if they don't know very much about it. So it makes sense to me because these books aren't very popular, especially if one is the second in a series. I'm grateful for those who, like I said, either watch any of my videos no matter what they are, not that I mind if you don't, or also people who may not know a book that somebody's talking about, but they click on the video anyway out of curiosity, and maybe you'll even walk away from the video feeling interested in this book that you had never heard of before until now. But anyway, it doesn't surprise me too much. As for if I can think of a reason why more people should watch those videos, some of my least viewed videos, I don't mind too much that they're my least viewed. These ones, though, are a bit unfortunate to me. I get it entirely, but I guess I wish that these videos had gotten more views because Travis M. Riddle is one of my favorite authors, and I would love for more people to read his books. Now, they are only available on Amazon, so yeah, that does make it a little harder instead of just being like, oh, it's a really popular book, I can check it out through the library or on Libby. But I know that there are paperback versions as well as ebooks, and I know some of them have audiobooks. I don't know if all his books have audiobook versions, but I know some do. I do not read a lot of fantasy, and I am quite intimidated by it a lot of the time. However, I think that Travis M. Riddle's books can be a great introduction to fantasy. I feel like his books are interesting, fun, often very unique. Like, yeah, even this series that is inspired by Pokemon is very much its own thing. It has some differences from Pokemon, some of which I think are better than Pokemon in terms of the way that things work. I really like his characters. I feel like his books are very character driven, so if that's something that's important to you or something that you like, you may like that about his books. I feel like in his books that take place in these different worlds, you learn about the world as it becomes relevant, and as the characters are learning about it too. There's definitely a lot of exploration in both of these books and series. I have read all of the Houndstooth trilogy and I really loved it. I have read only the first book in the Jekyll series. There are 6 books, but the series is completed already, so you don't gotta worry about, like, what if I read the first book but then he never finishes it? Like, no, it's finished. I'm sure I'll enjoy the rest, just haven't read those yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, Mother Pig was my favorite book in the Houndstooth trilogy. I'll say a little more of what these books are about. So the Houndstooth trilogy takes place in this fantasy world called Ruska. The characters are anthropomorphic animals, so they act like humans, but they're technically animals. The main character is a fox named Cole, and he is on the run from, like, the government in his world after having done something. At the beginning of the book, you don't know what it is, so I will not say what it is either. You do find out though, and I don't even think it takes halfway. It does take a few chapters though, and when you find out, it's pretty crazy. It's probably not what you could possibly think of, and it was kind of like disturbing, but in a I can't stop reading and I'm so interested kind of way. The first book is called Flesh Eater, and that is what Cole has been branded as by the government, so put that together and try to figure out what he possibly could have done and under what circumstances. Anyway, after he's on the run after having tarnished his name, and by the way, it's not like he's unlikable or that he did something terrible. He did technically do something wrong by their government standards, but just because something's illegal doesn't mean that it's wrong. I mean, in most cases, yeah, but that's questionable, especially in a fantasy world. So let me just say, like, what he did was not terrible. And I don't think that he's an unlikable character at all. I found him enjoyable and relatable. Anyway, as he's on the run, he is trying to find a way to just get out of where he lived and clear his name. There's this woman who offers some services to help him clear his name, but he does not have the funds. He's been going around from place to place trying to get the money, and then he finds an opportunity with a spiderback racing competition. That is one of the sports in their world. Spiders are one of the largest species in their world, and so this book is about him trying to get a spider and learn how to ride it well in time for the race so that he can hopefully pay off this woman who's offering to clear his name, because if she doesn't, he's probably going to get sent to a prison forever. So yeah, it's a really unique premise. I really enjoyed the characters in this book. There's like a group of characters. You don't really get to the group till the second book. Most of the first book is Cole by himself, but he does interact with other characters, and I think that they're pretty interesting, and there's even a romance in there, so that was pretty nice. I enjoyed that, but it's not the kind of thing that just absolutely overtakes it. I've heard some people's complaints, especially with like a fantasy series, not that this is romantic, like this is just fantasy with like a romantic subplot, like there's a romantic relationship with one of the characters, but the romantic relationship is not really relevant to the plot. It's not like it takes it over. It's not like it constantly becomes just a love fest. There's no smut in this. So the romance isn't excessive at all. It's just there for some of it, and I personally found it enjoyable and not toxic at all. I will say that this book isn't like completely clean by some people's standards. Like there is a lot of strong language in there, and sometimes it gets pretty violent, in case that's important to you. The Jekyll series is more for teenagers, so there's less profanity, less violence, but I personally really enjoyed the Houndstooth trilogy. I also think that it's great to support smaller self-published authors. However, I completely understand if you haven't done it much or at all, if you're intimidated because you don't know what's going to be good quality. Well, I can tell you that these books are definitely good quality, and not just the covers. I'm basically explaining why you should read these books instead of why you should watch those videos. You can still watch those videos if you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts. They are spoiler-free, sort of, although Mother Pig is the second book in the series. I try to say as much as I can without spoiling much of what happened in the first book, but that can be kind of hard. But you could just watch this video that you're already watching instead, because my audio is much better. I think the quality of this video is better than those old videos. And yeah, as I said, really starting in Mother Pig, there's this group of characters in the book, and I just really enjoyed watching them interact with each other. Some of them don't really get along, but they have this really important mission to do, so they kind of have to work together, and they were just really interesting and funny and entertaining together. And because I was mentioning things like profanity and violence, if you have anything you are specifically sensitive to or don't want to read in a book and you're curious about these books, you could just ask me about certain aspects of it and I can tell you more about what they're like. But yeah, I think the Houndstooth trilogy is great. I explained the plot of the first book with spiderback racing and all that, but the rest of the books are pretty different, and it ends up becoming this bigger story that is not necessarily what you thought it was. So there's a lot more to it, and I think it has great characters. I found it funny. Some of the books are kind of long, like the third book, Dirt King, which we'll get into for a reason why I'm making this video. You'll see. Like, Dirt King is over 600 pages, so normally I'd be pretty intimidated. But because I've read this author's books before and I've enjoyed them, I ended up enjoying that book too, even with how long it was. And it wasn't even like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but it was pretty long, wish it were shorter. Like, no, I don't mind if a book is long. It just depends on what you're doing with those pages. If you're just adding a bunch of unnecessary stuff just to make it bigger because you think it looks better, then yeah, that's not good. I showed you that This Song Is Not For You is my favorite book. This book is less than 250 pages. It's pretty thin. Does it look like the most aesthetically pleasing, thick book on the shelf? Not necessarily, but I don't care. I care about the words within the book. If this was all the author had to say and she did not want to throw in anything unnecessary in there, then yeah, she said all that she had to say, all that was needed, and I think that's great. And even with how short this book was, I felt that the characters were still developed. I felt that I still knew about them and their families and their interests and their struggles and their relationships with other people and their goals. Like, even with this small amount of pages, which is still a lot if you know what you're doing and you're putting the right things on them, then I don't mind if it's short, because something has to go there, and I felt that these pages were used well. Yeah, I have a lot of great things to say about this author's books, especially the Houndstooth trilogy, and if you would like to know more about it, you can watch my reviews, though I would recommend not necessarily my review of Mother Pig, but my review of Flesh Eater, just because that's the beginning of it, and like I said, I try not to get into spoilers, but it's kind of tough. As for On Lavender Tides, that is, like I said, a progression fantasy series that is inspired by the Pokemon franchise, but you don't really need to know anything about Pokemon in order to enjoy it. Like I said, it's inspired by Pokemon, it is not Pokemon. Things are explained in it, the world building and magic and everything in these books are explained as you go. You're not just thrust into a world not understanding anything. It starts slow, you learn more over time. There are Gekuas, which are basically just Pokemon, so different creatures, but you're not introduced to a bunch of them at once. You're introduced to just a few each book. I've only read the first book, but that's how it went. I assume that's how it'll be in the future. One of the reasons why the author wanted to write the Gekua series is because he felt that the Pokemon games don't really have a great story. And I haven't really played much of any of them, so I can't really comment on that, but I would say, yeah, they probably don't, because they're just games. I feel like the story isn't their main focus, although some games can have a great story. But this book is very much focused on the story, and I think that the settings in this book are great. As you can see on the cover, it's got this beautiful purple ocean. For some reason, the water's purple. So this series has a lot of traveling, so I don't know if the other books will be like this, but at least the first book had a very tropical beach setting. It was a really nice setting, very atmospheric. I really enjoyed being in it with the characters. Some of the books in the series get pretty long, but this first one isn't very long, so if you just want to try it out, this could be a good start. And also show you how big the text is. It's not the smallest I've ever seen, so for some people, they'd be able to read this pretty quickly. I also find this author's writing style pretty easy to follow along with. With this one, like with the Houndstooth trilogy, I also enjoy the characters in this and their relationships with each other. There are two main characters in the Gekua series, and it alternates between their two perspectives. They are best friends, and they're going on a journey together. So yeah, there I am once again promoting Travis M. Riddle. I know a lot of people haven't read his books, but I think a lot more people should, or at least give them a chance. I completely understand if you are hesitant, either to read from an author you never read before, or to read fantasy, or to read a series. Not all of his books are series, though. He has some other books, too. His first book, Wondrous, is a standalone portal fantasy, and this one is definitely more PG, has like a little bit of strong language, but not much. I don't know if I'd even call this PG-13. It's definitely not anything above PG-13. Now, I read this book before I started my channel, so I don't have a review of this, but I enjoyed this. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a great introduction to fantasy because it's a portal fantasy, so the character goes to a different world, and you learn about it as he's learning about it, so it's not very confusing at all. Then here's a book of his that I have reviewed on my channel, Balam Spring. This is also a standalone, so he has a few standalones if you don't want to start with the series. This one I did not absolutely love. I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It just wasn't my favorite of his, but I really liked the cozy setting of this. As you can see, the cover is beautiful and really reflects what the setting is like, and this one had like a mystery aspect to it, and I just thought it was really cute town, but it does have a plot other than just vibes. He also has an even shorter book. This is The Narrows. This is a contemporary horror standalone, and if you want something even shorter, there is his novella Baby Bird. So very short. This is body horror specifically, so that's definitely some people's thing and not some other people's things. But if you're interested in trying that out, or you like body horror, then you might like this. So yeah, I personally think that it wouldn't be too hard to at least try him out. I'd recommend it. I would love for more people to read his books because I think that maybe not everybody will like them. I think they're generally pretty well rated, but I think that a lot of people who have never read them before may like them if they try them. And also, as I said, it's great to support smaller self-published authors. My 4th least viewed video is my review of Making YouTube Videos. Start in Your Own Video by Nick Willoughby. This is part of a series that is basically like For Dummies, but for kids. And so this is just a little nonfiction book about making YouTube videos. It is written with kids in mind, but I think that the information is useful for anybody who wants to make videos. Because it's written for kids, it's pretty easy to understand, but it goes very much into the different aspects of filmmaking, planning a video, uploading a video, and the different kinds of software that you can use and equipment. I do plan on reading at least one more book about YouTube, but I did find this book useful, so I made a review of it if anybody sees it, because I think that a lot of people are interested in doing YouTube, and so they might see this book online and want to know if it's any good, so that's why I made the video, to tell people my thoughts on it, my experience with it, and the specific kinds of software and equipment that it mentions, because things like that can become outdated, or they may not apply to you if that's not what you use, or you can learn what you should use. As for why that video doesn't have a lot of views, I mean, it makes sense. It's a nonfiction book about a specific topic, not something that applies to everyone. It's not even a topic where it's like, you should learn about this if it's about, I don't know, a certain health condition or something, because not everybody is interested in making YouTube videos. I think that this is the kind of video that a lot of people will search specifically for, and then they'll find what they're looking for. I think it's the kind of video where it's going to get a few more views over time as people are looking specifically for reviews of this book or books similar to it, or just books about YouTube, and hopefully it finds the people who are looking for it. But I don't mind at all, because it's not like some story that I think everyone could enjoy or benefit from. It's just about a specific topic, so that makes a lot of sense to me. As for if I think if more people should watch that video, not really, unless you're interested in the topic. If If you are at all interested in doing YouTube, then you can watch it, especially if you're younger. A lot of the information, though, may be basic. If you've been doing YouTube for years, then maybe it wouldn't do much for you. Even though I had been doing YouTube for not a year yet, but close to it. Well, BookTube specifically, I've had prior YouTube experience. Nothing crazy professional, but I have had some experience. I think I still learned some things from this book. It's always good to never assume that you know everything there is to know about a topic, or especially a specific craft. So I went on and on about Travis M. Riddle's books and why I think more people should read those. But when it comes to this book, it's really for a specific audience. So my third least viewed video is my third installment of recent library reads, videos where I talk about books that I recently checked out from the library. These videos, I think, generally don't get a lot of views, and I don't really mind that, especially when I'm talking about a lot of children's books. Those are the majority of the books I've been borrowing from the library recently. I do have a lot of, novels that I want to check out from the library, but recently I've been reading novels that I already own, and I also go to the library to check out these smaller books that I want to read. So a lot of those books have been smaller. So if you've watched those videos before and you think I'm only ever going to talk about children's books on those videos, I'm not. I will also talk about more, I guess, mature books. Anyway, for my recent library reads number 3 video, I only had 2 books. One of them was an adult nonfiction book, but one of them, you could see in the thumbnail, was pretty small, and we'll get into that one later because that may or may not be involved in this video as well. So you can see I didn't have many, so that already may not spark a lot of interest because there weren't many books I was talking about. You can see that one of them was kind of small, which could maybe show that it was a children's book, and it was, and so a lot of people aren't interested in that, which makes sense because they're most likely not children. So yeah, just not a lot of books in that thumbnail, and the ones that were there weren't many of, so it made sense to me. As for if you should watch that video, I'm not particularly passionate about it. I was just talking about the books I had read from the library, and I don't think that either of those books are books that, everyone needs to read. My number 2 least viewed video is my review of Dirt King by Travis M. Riddle, the third book in the Houndstooth trilogy. I was just talking about this series not long ago. I've already said a lot about it. I don't have much more to say, but as I said with my review of Mother Pig, it makes sense that that video did not get a lot of views, not only because it's a series that's not very well known, but also because it was a sequel. So with the third and final book of the series, when you probably haven't read the first book, you probably haven't read the second book, and then there's the third book. So yeah, it makes sense that not a lot of people watched it, and also I feel like it is one of my worst thumbnails. The text is not easy to read. I tried to make it text that matched the colors of the cover, but it just didn't look good. I think I knew that at the time. I was kind of rushing it. I should not have done that, but I've learned from it. Definitely think that this author deserved a better thumbnail in my video about one of his books. So yeah, if you're going to put text on your thumbnails, definitely make sure that it is easy to read. And not easy to read maybe if the person stops and looks at it, because most people looking for something to watch on YouTube are not going to stop and meticulously read every thumbnail that they see. They're just scrolling through them. So it's got to be something eye-catching, and it is not. But this is also one of my not very first videos, but it's pretty old at this point. Should more people watch that video? Well, as I said, I think you should watch the review of the first book in the series, Flesh Eater, or just at least buy and read the first book in the first place. I definitely recommend reading the series. As for watching the video, that's up to you. I would recommend not doing it until you have read the book. If you do, at least my review of the first book is not in the top 5 least viewed videos, which definitely makes sense. Also, the text on that one was much easier to read. Even had a cute little emoji on it. So I love a lot of things about the Houndstooth trilogy. I think it's really fun and enjoyable and unique, and it's got great characters. There are a lot of things in the world of that series that I enjoy. Now on to my least viewed video of all, which this currently has, I think, less than 10 views. That is my review of Green Jolene and the Neighborhood Swap by Wendy Mass. It makes sense to me that this is my least viewed video. I mean, it is a children's book. Not like a picture book, but it has illustrations, but like a children's chapter book for elementary schoolers. It makes perfect sense, and I think you can see that the cover looks very kiddish. But I read it because Wendy Mass is one of my favorite authors. I've generally read books by her that are a little more mature, like middle grade and young adult, though most of her books are middle grade. This is a new book of hers. The library had it, and it's short, and I figured, why not? I'll try it out. And this is a book about a girl named Jolene. She and her family are very resourceful, and recycling and taking care of the planet is pretty important to them. And it's about her learning about a swap meet where she can set up this event in the neighborhood where people of the neighborhood can get rid of things that they don't need and also get some things from other people if they want them. And I thought it was a cute story. It was funny. I think that Jolene and her family were interesting, fun characters. I thought that Jolene was a fun protagonist. I thought she was humorous. I think it was a good educational, resourceful book for children, or anyone really. I learned some things from it. Is it a book that I think everyone should read? Not necessarily, especially because a lot of people just aren't interested in reading children's books if they're not children. But I think that my channel can be good for a lot of different people and age groups, especially if you have a child in your life and are looking for books for them. That's not really what I specialize in, but I do talk about children's books sometimes, so my channel could be good for that. As for if you should watch the video otherwise, no, you don't necessarily have to unless you just want to support my channel more. So there was me doing the box office tops and flops tag. I know when tags are supposed to tag other people, I never really do. I just say, like, whoever wants to do this, then do it. I'm not going to tag anyone in the description or anything, but I will have information about this tag in the description. If you want to do this tag, then feel free to. I think it's a really interesting one. I especially like that you talk about why you think that some of your videos are more viewed or less viewed than others. And I think that it can be a good way to really evaluate your channel and the quality of it and how maybe you've improved since then or what you could do to improve in the future, because some things with my videos, like some of the thumbnails, I definitely see how they could be better. But also, if your least viewed videos are videos that are important to you, then I'd say keep making videos like those. Don't base whether or not you're gonna keep making those videos on the views they get. I mean, if they're videos that like take a big investment of money and you're kind of just doing them just to see if they'll be popular and they're not getting a lot of views, then I guess you could stop. But yeah, if you're passionate about those videos, I definitely say keep going. Well, I guess I am done yapping for now, so thank you for joining me.